I used to believe Islam was a religion of violence and oppression. That is what I was taught my entire life. I was told Muslims worship a God who commands them to kill non-believers, beat their wives, punish rape victims, and treat women as property. I believed every word of it without question. Why would I question it? Everyone around me said the same thing. The media confirmed it. The politicians repeated it. It was just an accepted truth in my world. Then one day, someone challenged me. They did not argue with me. They did not get angry. They simply said, "Have you ever actually read what you are criticizing?" I laughed. I told them I did not need to read it. I already knew what it said. But they pressed further. They said, "Find me the verses. Show me where it says what you claim it says." So I decided I would. I was going to prove once and for all that Islam was exactly what I believed it to be. I opened the holy book confident I would find every hateful verse I had been told about. And I did find them. But something was terribly wrong. The first verse I found was about killing those who worship other gods. It read, "If your very own brother or your son or daughter or the wife you love or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, 'Let us go and worship other gods,' show them no pity. Do not spare them or shield them. You must certainly put them to death." I felt validated for a moment. Then I looked at the reference. It was not from the Quran. It was from the Bible. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 6 through 9. I thought it was a mistake. So I kept searching. I found a verse about homosexuality. If a man has relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Again, I checked the source. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. The Bible. My hands started shaking. I found a verse about what happens to a rape victim. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 28 and 29. The Bible again. I found verses commanding women to remain silent in churches, that it is disgraceful for a woman to speak. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 34 and 35. I found verses telling wives to submit to their husbands in everything. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 through 24. I found verses saying any woman who prays with her head uncovered dishonors herself. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 5. Every single verse I had been told was from Islam was actually from the Bible. Every single one. I sat there staring at the pages, feeling like the ground had been pulled from under my feet. My entire belief system about Islam had been built on lies. Not just small misunderstandings, but deliberate, calculated lies. I felt betrayed. I felt angry, not at Islam, but at everyone who had fed me this hatred for years, at myself for never once bothering to check. I had spent years hating a religion I had never actually studied. I had judged over 1 billion people based on propaganda I never verified. But my journey did not stop there. I needed to understand something deeper. I realized that in Christianity, we must distinguish between what is truly divine revelation and what are human additions written over centuries. Many of these harsh verses reflect the culture and politics of ancient men, not the mercy of God. This understanding was crucial for what came next, because I realized the same principle applies to Islam. In Islam, there is the Quran, which Muslims believe is the direct word of God, unchanged. And then there are hadith collections, written by men roughly 200 years after the Prophet Muhammad. These are human compilations, and no honest scholar treats every single one as absolute divine truth without careful verification. So I decided to read the Quran itself, not what people told me it said, not what the media claimed, the actual Quran, and what I found changed my life forever. About fighting in war, I found this: fight in the cause of God, those who fight you. but do not commit aggression. Indeed, God does not love the aggressors. Fight them until there is no more oppression, and worship is devoted to God alone. But if they cease, then let there be no hostility except against the oppressors. This was not a commandment to kill innocent people. This was a clear instruction to defend yourself when attacked, and to stop fighting the moment the aggression stops. There were rules, there were boundaries, there was justice. About women and their rights, I found this: O you who believe, it is not permitted for you to inherit women against their will. And those of you who die and leave wives behind, a will shall provide their wives with support for a full year. Women were not property. They had rights to inheritance, to financial security, to protection. These rights were established in the 7th century, over 1,000 years before Western women gained similar legal protections. About protecting women from false accusations, I found this: those who accuse chaste women of wrongdoing but cannot produce 4 witnesses lash the accuser 80 times and never accept their testimony again. They are truly wicked. And those who slander honorable, innocent, believing women are cursed in this life and in the hereafter, and they will suffer a tremendous punishment. The Quran was not punishing women. It was punishing those who slander and falsely accuse women. The burden of proof was placed on the accuser with the highest possible standard. This was protection of women at a level I had never seen in any ancient text. But the verse that broke me completely, the verse that made tears stream down my face, was this one. Indeed, Muslim men and Muslim women, believing men and believing women, obedient men and obedient women, truthful men and truthful women, patient men and patient women, humble men and humble women, charitable men and charitable women, fasting men and fasting women, men who guard their chastity and women who guard their chastity, men who remember God frequently and women who remember God frequently. God has prepared for them forgiveness and an immense reward. I read that verse again and again and again. Men and women, side by side, word by word, quality by quality, reward by reward. Complete and total spiritual equality. No hierarchy, no superiority, no submission of one to the other before God. Equal in faith, equal in duty, equal in reward. Everything collapsed inside me. Every lie I had believed, every hateful word I had spoken, every judgmental thought I had carried. It all fell apart in that moment. I was not reading a book of oppression. I was reading a book of liberation. I was not discovering a faith that hated women. I was discovering a faith that honored them in ways my own tradition had failed to do for centuries. I felt deep shame for my years of ignorance, but more than shame, I felt gratitude. Gratitude that I had been given this chance to see the truth before it was too late. Gratitude that someone had cared enough to challenge me instead of giving up on me. I spent weeks after that reading, studying, comparing, and reflecting. The more I learned about the Quran, the more I saw a consistent message of justice, mercy, compassion, and equality. It was not perfect in the way my biased mind wanted to define perfection. It was perfect in the way truth is perfect, honest, balanced, and uncompromising in its principles. I will not pretend the Muslim world is without problems. Every community has people who distort their own scriptures for power and control. But the Quran itself, the actual text, was nothing like what I had been told. It was the opposite. Today I share my story for one reason. I want every person who carries hatred in their heart based on what they were told to stop and ask themselves one question. Have you actually read it yourself? Have you gone to the source? Or are you, like I was, repeating someone else's lies and calling them your own beliefs? Do not let anyone think for you. Do not let anyone choose your enemies for you. Do not let propaganda replace knowledge. Read, seek, question, and be brave enough to change your mind when the truth demands it. That is what happened to me. The religion I hated became the religion that saved me. The book I wanted to condemn became the book that set me free. And the God I thought was cruel turned out to be the most merciful, the most compassionate, waiting patiently for me to stop listening to lies and start seeking the truth. This is my story. And if it reached your heart, then perhaps your own journey is just beginning.